All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dream Builders podcast. I'm back here again with Randy. Randy, I'm happy to be here. Hindsight is 2020. I say that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, "Oh, I would do this different. I would do that differently," but they're lessons learned. So, looking back from your vantage point right now, what do you tell your 25-year-old self?
Interesting question. So I got to think back. Where was I when I was 25 years old? So I had graduated college already. I was already building homes. I had Sapphire established. I was probably in the thick of it. We talked about this last episode where
Yeah,
a lot going on, and I was probably feeling burnt out from burning the candle at both ends. So what would I tell myself? If I could tell myself, hey, 10 years from now, this is where you're going to be. This is what the company's going to look like. This is what your life is going to be like. So the family you're going to have, the types of homes that you're going to build. I think that would have been an easy sell. Like,
sure.
you got to bust ass for the next 10 years. But you get all of these things in the meantime. And at the end, I think the biggest lesson is just keep your head down. Keep going. Trust in God. I would say that's a big one. I've been one that always, throughout my whole life, I put a lot on myself, try to do it all and try to be the best version of myself that I can be, whether that's when I was in school or with my family or friends or in business, and be the best person that I can be and best version of Randy that I can be. So
Sure.
I hold myself to a pretty high standard. And sometimes with that, you question it, right? Like,
Sure.
am I setting the bar too high? Are my goals realistic? Is my vision realistic?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about that last episode about imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to think that I can have these things, right? I won't say that was been a big part of my thought process or philosophy, but it creeps in from time to time, especially
sure.
during tough times or down times. But I would tell 25-year-old me, like, keep going, do what you're doing. Maybe the one change I would say is maybe slow down.
Yeah.
Uh, I've always gone, 100 miles an hour or more. Always wanted to. When I do something, I typically go 2 feet in the fire. No looking back.
Yeah.
Just dive right in, and that's not necessarily the best recipe for success. We talked about I was doing 9 projects at once right off rip.
Yeah.
More is not necessarily better, especially
Right.
if more is more losses.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I've had this challenge where I always feel like, there's a natural high with selling a project or selling a deal for me, right?
Yeah.
There's a good feeling with getting another job signed or another
Sure.
sale done, and I've always enjoyed the sales process. There's joy in completing a project and giving keys to a homeowner and seeing them happy and excited and ready to move in with their family, of course, too.
Yeah.
But that first part kind of has fueled me a lot in my business. Chasing the next project, the next big cool thing, the next $1 million home or whatever it was back then. But try. I don't want to say keep it within your means, because it's good to push the envelope, and I
Right.
believe that's helped me get to where I am. But you don't necessarily need to go from 1 to 9.
Yeah.
You can go from 1 to 3 to
Right.
6 to 9.
And there's an interesting, I guess, angle that you could, look at that, because when you're confident and comfortable in something, the outcome is predictable. Yeah, fine. You can scale that. But when you're learning and you go from 1 to 9, just for example, right? Well, you're either going to have 9 successes or 9 mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Because you haven't sometimes vetted the process or the outcome, and you've scaled it.
Yeah.
Um, but my story kind of runs in parallel with yours. So
Right.
you've mentioned this before. We've been friends for a long time since we were kids. You used to give me a lot of business advice. I think we're very different in the parts of the process we like. Like I hate sales; they intimidate me. Um, but we're very similar, I think, in that we always held ourselves to like a really, really high standard.
For sure.
Um, and for me, I think imposter syndrome was a lot more relevant because when you're holding yourself to this standard and sometimes the standard that you can't meet for yourself, you start judging yourself. It almost like weaponizes against you.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
but like you said, when you finish a project, for me, it was always like the reaction of the person, the deliverable, right?
Yeah.
That's what drove you. But it also builds confidence, right? You built my confidence a lot because you were seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself. But then once I did them, I started seeing it. It was like I kind of like baby step.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was the same for you, right? Like every success, every win, every learning lesson, I'm sure boosted your confidence.
Yeah, I mean, there were the the good things boost your confidence, and the negative things like
Yeah,
you make you question yourself, right?
sure.
But there was, I don't know if I necessarily agree with you that I was 9 for 9 or 0 for 9. I think I was kind of right in between. I was like at like maybe 5 good ones and 4 bad
Yeah,
ones, right? Maybe by dumb luck, or maybe by strategy, or maybe from the man above looking out for
maybe.
me.
Yeah.
Um, I
And you're
was,
pivoting right in the moment, so you're learning things while
yeah,
it's happening. It's just
yeah.
making an example that
So the challenge for me is like I made money on that first house, right? I was like, if I can make money on the first one and I learn from that, I should do better on the next one and the next one and the next one.
right.
So I sold all 9 of the next houses before I finished the second house,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm like, uh-oh, I'm looking
Yeah.
at the financials, and everything's reactionary.
Sure.
Um, One thing I think I did right, talking back to my 25-year-old self, is even when the projects were upside down, um, I never really let the client know. You had
Yeah.
asked me,
I asked you.
did the client suffer? I have always treated my reputation as the most valuable thing. Money
Yeah.
is important. It comes and goes. You have good projects, you have bad projects.
Sure.
Quality is important. Design is important. All things are important, but reputation is one of those things. If you have a good reputation, it could really transform and
For sure.
transcend and do multiples for you. If you have a bad reputation, or you start getting one, or you create a bad reputation for you, it is a very, very difficult hole to climb out of.
Yeah.
People will always see that like residue, if
Of
you will,
course.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to what I'm saying, it was very important for me to make sure I finished the job. I did it right, made sure the client still felt good about it. Um, did we ever talk about that job that the client was laughing at me at the office when I showed him my P&L and L and that I was losing money on it?
No, I don't think so. It's a
Yeah,
good time to talk about it.
yeah. So I was probably 25 when this happened, give or take. And I think it was the third or fourth job that I had signed. And it was the job I've lost the most money on.
Okay.
Um, I was $150,000 on that job. 150,000 that I did not have.
Sure.
And the client really took advantage of me. Um, and I let them take advantage of me. They were very nice, and they trusted me to build their home, and it was in a gated community that I wanted to be building in. And they manipulated the situation oftentimes, where they would said, "Oh, this has to be included. I'm spending this much money. You need to include this. You need to include this." And I was always like, I want to make sure I make my clients happy, kind of make sense what they're saying. Okay, I'll do this.
Yeah.
I'll do this. I'll do this. Next thing you know, I'm doing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of extras that they're not getting billed for.
Right.
So not only am I not making money, now I'm losing money. And at the end, I finish the job and there's a balance due. And he wants to negotiate with me on what he owes. And it's not like a discrepancy in what he thinks.
Right.
This black and white.
Sure.
This were the things you signed off on. Here's what you pay. Here's the balance. He wanted to negotiate for the sake of negotiating. Like,
Mm.
you know, uh, I owe you 60,000. I'm going to pay you 40 of it. I'm like, why? I did my job. I finished the home.
Yeah.
Are you not happy with the home? Oh no, we're very happy with the home. Did I do something wrong? No, but you know, we could have done some things differently or whatever. I was like, listen, I didn't want to tell you this, but I'm upside down on your project. Oh no, there's no way. You charged me a lot of money. You made a lot of money. I was
Yeah.
like, I charged you a lot of money to you, but things cost money, and I gave you a lot of things.
Right.
I literally pulled out my file and I pulled out my QuickBooks report that I had just reviewed, and it's literally negative 100 and something thousand dollars at the time. I was like, I can't give you a discount. I can't give you anything else. You
Yeah.
want my shirt? Because that's all I got left. And he sits back in his chair and he starts laughing. And I'm heated right now. I'm like, what is going on? Why is this guy laughing? I just showed him I lost 100 something thousand dollars and he's laughing? Is this guy serious? I was getting angry.
I can imagine.
I'm just like, what? What's so funny? It's like, I'm gonna pay you. I was like, well, yeah, thanks, you should. But I'm gonna give you something more valuable. I'm like, what? What is this guy talking about? He
Okay.
goes, in my ethnicity, in my family, we believe that it's my job to do everything I can for my family. And I'm gonna use every tactic that I can to get you to do extra for me.
Yeah.
If I have to make you feel bad, if I have to manipulate the situation, if I have to do whatever I have to do. But at the end of the day, if you say yes, then I can sleep peacefully at night. Because you can say no. You don't have to do it.
Sure.
My job is to convince you to say yes. And if I get you to say yes, it's a win for me. He's like, you should know that moving forward. Hold your ground.
Wow.
And I was taken aback because I don't operate like that.
You're right.
Most people I know don't operate like that. But it made me realize not everybody is necessarily coming from an authentic or genuine place,
Sure.
especially when money is involved.
Yeah.
And there are times when a negotiation is required, but if I don't believe truly that I owe something to somebody, or then I need to stand my ground to
Yeah.
better myself and to better my company. It's not just making the client happy. That's important,
Right.
but within reason. Uh, I have to protect myself and my business as well. I can't just let people take advantage of me.
Agreed.
So I would say that's the most expensive. You didn't ask what was the most expensive lesson I learned, but I'll tell you that's the most expensive lesson I learned. Uh, so I guess circling back again, go back to 25-year-old Randy. What would you tell them?
Yeah.
Be confident in what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. Stand your ground though when necessary. Don't let people take advantage of you.
I'm really glad you said that because it kind of put something in my head. So the power of no, essentially,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, and for me, especially early on, it's a smaller scale than what you're talking about, but I was a yes man, right? I want to give the client everything they want. I want them to be happy. Now, incidentally, they weren't happy because you overpromise, underdeliver. But I remember one time there was a client who was a mutual friend of ours. I remember this conversation was between you and me, and I got this crazy request, this email. Can I get this, that, and the other by this afternoon? And I was getting heated and frustrated, and I told you, and you're like, he's just asking a question, just say no. So I emailed back, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And he responds back, oh, no problem. When can you get it done? And like I got myself like all worked up. If I would have agreed, I would have disappointed him. But like I projected that this is the most important thing in the world that this person wants. And really it was just a request.
yeah. It doesn't hurt to ask, right?
Right. Yeah. But it's interesting with what you said because like when you clarified kind of when he told you that, right? You question like is intent malicious? On one side, I'm going to do everything I can, for my family,
Yeah.
but depending on where you are on that spectrum, you have a different viewpoint, a different vantage point. So
Yeah. I mean, I would say that that was the most extreme
yeah,
situation I've had in that particular case. But I've had numerous clients, try similar things, and sometimes they make sense. And they were like,
yeah,
"Hey, I expected this because X, Y, and Z." It's like, okay, I can see that. That makes sense to me. Let's
right,
meet in the middle. Or you know what? You're right. Let me
yeah,
take care of this for you, and that's fine. But when it's a repetitive
sure,
scenario, then you
sure.
gotta like think twice, maybe.
But I think that's the other part of business too, and like I experienced a lot. I think it's part of the reason like why I'm good at what I'm doing. Like I don't want to use the word like therapist, but there's a lot of psychology involved, especially on the sales side of things.
Absolutely.
Understanding people, understanding personalities, making them feel comfortable. It's like there's a huge chunk of this that has nothing to do with building homes. You know what I
A
mean?
massive chunk. If I was just building homes and then selling them, this whole large aspect of what we do wouldn't exist.
Right.
I'm dealing with most often a husband and wife, and they're not always on the same page. He wants modern, she wants traditional. He wants black, she wants white.
Right.
Whatever the case may be, and you're in the middle trying to get them to compromise. And even if they are on the same page, we're building something that's never been built before. It's
Right.
it's a beta version every time.
Yes.
Uh, so we're looking at something on paper via rendering, a drawing, specifications on a document, and trying to make sure that what they're understanding or saying, what I'm understanding and saying, are actually the same thing.
Right.
We can be saying the same thing, but imagining or thinking of different things, right?
Exactly.
Like what level, you know, what's luxury, right?
Right.
Depends who you ask.
Yeah.
Somebody coming from the royal palace is going to view luxury very differently than somebody coming from an apartment in Detroit,
Of course.
right? Little things can be a lot more luxurious. So aligning visions is a challenging part of what we do.
Yeah.
If I'm building a home and you could walk through it and you see it and this is what I'm buying, that goes away.
Right.
It's very easy. You're buying a product, it's there, it's available.
Yeah.
When we're designing and building, it's not uncommon for people to think one thing and say another, or not articulate it
Right.
the way that I can understand it. Or sometimes it's me. I'm talking technical jargon. I try really hard not to be technical,
Yeah.
but I'm in it so much in the day to day. I say something simple to me that they don't understand. And they don't want to question it because they don't want to
Right.
whatever feel a certain way, or
I was like that in school.
yeah. I mean, it's a real thing. And I think I'm saying something that they're understanding and they're not understanding it. So
Right.
it creates a challenge.
So that's interesting. I think that you presented that because we're both in the arts, right? Like when you're when you're selling like a spec home, let's say for example, or like a production home, right? You're selling a commodity. But when you start getting into luxury and this and that and the other, you're selling an experience, right? I had this conversation with a dental client. Like if you're selling veneers, you're selling a commodity. If you're selling the confidence that comes with those, right? Now the way that's valued is different and you find the people that value. It's not your place to convince everybody in this world that a Sapphire Luxury Home is for them. It's your place to say that if you're looking for this caliber of luxury, I'm the guy to do it,
Sure.
right? And we saw that with the latest model, like the Cameron, right? It's a beautiful model. Everybody had an opinion on what that home was worth.
Right.
And, me working with you closely, I had an idea of what you had into it. So some of these people were just like completely way off. But I used to always tell because some people that knew that you were close to me, they used to ask me, "What do you think it's worth?" And I would just tell them, "It's worth what it's sold for." You know what I mean? Like
Right.
once that number gets there, somebody decided, whether it was emotional or not, that this is worth it for you. That's what it's worth. Doesn't matter what you think it's worth. It doesn't matter what you think you could build it for.
Right.
Um, and with what you do, there's not necessarily a right and a wrong way.
I mean, let's circle back to what you just said. What we're doing is an art.
Yeah.
How do you value art?
Right.
like an actual artwork, a painting, a sculpture.
Yes.
The value is in the eye of the beholder,
Yeah.
right? Something that could be worth $1 to somebody could be worth millions of dollars. That
Exactly.
banana that was taped to the wall, that was art, not my
Doesn't do
kind
it
of
for
art,
me.
but somebody thought it was valuable.
Yeah.
I tell this to my clients a lot. What we do is an art. It's not a science. There are some sciences behind it,
Right.
but I use this analogy all the time. Clients expect a custom luxury home to be perfect, like
Yeah.
perfection. We strive for perfection. We
Sure.
really do. We try hard, but we're dealing with imperfect circumstances.
Yeah.
The wood that we use is not perfectly straight. The contractors that we use are normal people. They're imperfect people.
Yeah.
The conditions that we build in are imperfect. There's rain, there's snow, there's wind, there's whatever it may be. And this home is being built for the first and only time. This design on this property with these conditions, it'll never happen again, right? And I use the analogy of, we're in Detroit, the automotive industry. So GM spends billions of dollars designing whatever car it is.
Yeah.
And they have top-notch engineers working on this, and they do prototypes, and they test it in every single condition, and then they build it thousands and thousands of times in a controlled environment on an assembly line
Right.
with a very specific system, and they still have recalls,
Right.
right? If they can't do that perfect, and they've been doing this for 100 years,
Yeah.
right? Why are you expecting the home to be exactly perfect?
Right.
If you take a microscope or a magnifying glass and a flashlight to every wall, you're going to find imperfections. That's not a
Of course.
realistic expectation. But just going back to it, it's definitely an art. You're working a lot of different components, whether it's people or materials and
Right.
designs, and trying to integrate them. And sometimes things designed on paper don't actually work in the field, or you
For
overlook
sure.
something. You're seeing it spatially, or there's a pipe in the way that you weren't expecting to be
Right.
there, or whatever it may be, and you're adjusting and you're tweaking and
Yeah.
making good decisions and judgments based on information at hand.
And I can speak directly to what you said because I come from an automotive background, and most of those imperfections that you're talking about in that kind of industry, they don't like change. You know what I mean? But technology moves forward, and it's usually the integration of a new technology. Now, you imagine on a custom project, right, where everything is new. You know, I learned really, really quickly that it's not about never making a mistake. It's about doing right by your client in the situation that you make a mistake. If something happens, because like you said, some of it is just out of your control, right? The elements, weird lot circumstances, but you make it right.
Yeah.
That's great. But there's a certain, because in my work, if I'm doing a logo or a video or something, I tell people, listen, if you're going to tell me to do something that's absolutely wrong, I will tell you and I'll make sure it doesn't happen. But there's going to be 50% of it. They almost want me to say, like, yeah, this is it. Do this. I'm going to say there's 50% of it that can be done in a million different ways.
Right.
And I'm just going to make it so that when you wake up in the morning, you like it. So I need you need to there is a right way, right, of usually what's under the hood, but then you're going to speak to their emotion, and you want to make sure that not only is it right, but when they wake up in that home, in that room, whatever,
Yeah.
that they're happy,
Of course.
you know? Um, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, you're right. Right and wrong is hard in design.
Yeah.
In construction techniques, there's oftentimes right and wrong.
Right.
Even there's different ways to go about accomplishing
Sure.
the same goal. But in design specifically, it's very much art,
Yeah.
and how you put two materials together, or the edging of a certain material versus round and versus square and things like that.
Right.
The color schemes, etc. People have opinions,
Sure.
right? That you can find two of the best designers in the world. If they disagree on which one is more beautiful than the other, which one is it?
Yeah.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We said
Right.
that. So that's a challenging part. Sometimes we show a client a very real thing, photorealistic rendering. This is what this space is going to be like. and they walk into the space. It's still under construction, so it's not
Right.
really truly the best circumstance. But then they're like, I didn't think it was gonna look like this, and I'm just like, how can you not think it was gonna look like this? This is
Right.
exactly what it's supposed to look like. But
Yeah.
I can't tell them that they're wrong. It's
Right.
their home. They
Sure.
want to feel, even if it does look like that. Well, what do you want it to look like, or
You're
what do
right.
you want it? What do you think it should look like?
Yeah.
Let's work together to try to figure that out.
It's usually an opportunity to educate, right? And tell them like this is fine.
Yeah.
And then you can show them just so you know,
Yeah.
right? And they might say, yeah, that's fine. Or they might say, I didn't think of that. I didn't want it as bad as I thought I did.
Perfect example. This literally just happened in the last 2 days. I had a client that um, we're finishing up the home right now. We're putting the lighting in, and he's like, the lighting is it's too dark in my house. I had said I wanted it to be bright. You guys use 3000K temperature lighting.
Sure.
We wanted brighter. Well, 3000K is our norm. Every home that you've ever walked, almost every home that you've ever walked into that's a Sapphire
Right.
Homes had 3000K lighting. It wasn't specified, or it was specified to be 3000K. We never discussed changing it to anything, but now they want it to be 4000K.
Yeah.
So it's a whiter light, cooler a little bit in color,
Cooler. Yeah.
but that's what they want. So, how do you can't say that they're wrong. That's what they want.
Right.
That's not what we normally do, but it's their home. If that's what it's going to make them feel better at night or during the day or
Yeah.
whatever it is, like, it's a relatively simple situation. We can make it work. And
Right.
I'm not saying I'm right and they're wrong, but I educated them and saying that 3000 is our norm. We do it in the Cameron home and in my own home. Every home
Yeah.
you've ever walked into of ours has had that. He's like, it didn't feel like this. This is what we want. So we're making that happen.
I experienced that when I was building my own home. Um, Different, right? It's not a separate, it's like a production home, but the process, you're looking at things with a fine-tooth comb and a magnifying glass. And I was like, oh, why does this look like this? Why does this look like that? I ended up changing all my home to 4000K and then I switched it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
because it was just like, you make assumptions, right? And I was probably more in tune as a photographer, like with color temperature. But then it's just like you almost trick yourself. No, every home I've ever been in is 4000. Then you go to your parents' house, they're like, wait, it's not. And wait, it's not. It's just you never paid attention to it.
Sure.
Um,
And that's one of the funny things about building a home is you're making decisions about every aspect of the home that you
right,
typically, if you're buying a home or remodeling a home or parts of a home, you're not picking out every intricate detail.
right.
So when you're looking at a countertop or a cabinet or a hardwood or tile or whatever it is, you're somewhat looking at it in an isolated perspective.
Yeah,
But truthfully, it's how it all comes together.
yeah,
And even then, once the furniture and accessories and you're actually, it's looking like it's lived in, it completely changes
for sure.
the feeling and how all these materials work together and come together. So you're almost looking at it in a silo,
Yeah,
and you're like, this doesn't feel good on its own, right? I
right.
don't like the color of this countertop. Like, take a step back. How does it work with everything else?
Yeah,
And then it's like, I think to myself, okay, if this home was 100% complete, there was furniture, artwork, etc., and you walked in, that same person,
yeah.
would they say, I don't like the countertop? No.
Probably not.
They would probably
Right.
say, this is a beautiful space. You're
Exactly.
looking at it holistically rather than specifically.
And we experienced that directly with our media when we started staging the homes, right? They felt completely different in the photos
Oh,
when they were staged with
it's
furniture
not even close.
versus empty spaces.
Absolutely.
Um,
People people in general, myself included, it's hard to comprehend the size of these rooms, right?
right,
You're looking at dimensions, 20 by 20. Okay, how big is that relatively,
right.
right? What does it look like when there's furniture placed in this room, this family room, this bedroom? Anytime you walk into, I tell all my clients, I said, the closer you are to finishing the home, the larger each space is going to look.
Yeah,
And it's counterintuitive. You think when it's an open hole, it should look the biggest.
Right.
When the home is framed but no drywall, it should look and feel bigger because there's no walls, right? There's no barricades. That's not the case.
No.
And really, you don't understand the scale until furniture is there, and then you can really understand spatially how does the space feel.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. Um, I want to kind of go back to like how we started this,
Yeah, we went off on major tangents.
but it's okay. I'm happy with where it went. And you kind of already touched on this. You said if you knew what you were going to receive, you would do this again. But would you do it differently? If you could go back, would you do it differently, or do you feel that these are just the lessons that made you who you are?
If I had all the information that I have today and go back to 25-year-old me, but I had all the knowledge that I have now, of course I would do it differently,
Sure.
right? I wouldn't, learn all these lessons and
Right.
experience all this pain. But all of that has led to this, right? Um, we've talked about it in past episodes. I questioned my decision of creating my own home building company. I have.
Yeah.
But to go back 10 years and say, imagine trying to tell 25-year-old me in 6 years there's going to be a global pandemic.
Right.
It's hard to even comprehend those things. So trying to tell myself, like, these are the struggles you're going to go through, and these are the learning experiences and all those things.
Yeah.
I don't know if 25-year-old me would be like, I can make it through all of that. That's a lot of stuff
Right.
to go through. But if you have the end goal or the end result and say, you got to deal with all these things, but here's where you're going to be in 10 years. This is what the company is going to be. You're going to have 30 employees. You're going to have a landscaping department. You're going to have model homes and numerous properties and numerous awards that you've won, and
Right.
you've created a brand that has a great reputation. Is it all worth it? Absolutely. I would definitely go back and do it again. I would love to say I would do things differently. I would say the biggest thing is just maybe not going so fast.
Sure.
Trying to do things more methodically.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, there was many times that the journey was not being enjoyed. But yeah, I think that would have helped. I've had a lot of great people along the way. I've had a few that weren't so great. They say hire slow and fire fast. I've kind of done the opposite. Hire fast and fire slow. But now we have a great team. And that would be one of the things I would do differently too. Maybe be more selective on who I bring onto the team. And as you're growing your business, the business is in different levels or stages, and there's different people to get you from stage 1 to 2.
Sure.
Maybe you need somebody else from 2 to 3 and somebody else from 3 to 4.
Right.
Right. And I've experienced that. So all in all, in hindsight, looking back, it's been a great journey. I'm very happy with where we're at. I'm happy with the lessons that I've learned, and we're still learning lessons. So we're not
Sure.
perfect, and we still have goals, and we still have a vision, and that's for another episode.
I think that's a great note to end this episode.